tape in front of live.
Hello, people, and welcome to another episode of The Rock Show. This is episode 56, and this is the group AC/DC.
Yeah.
From Australia.
From Australia.
A group,
The greatest bands ever.
yeah, a group that survived
Death.
two death and two very good, not too many bands can get two different frontmen and do as good as they did, to the point that right now the frontman is Axl Rose.
Well,
And,
not long.
and-
Brian Johnson's
Brian
coming
Johnson's
back.
coming back, but he had that weird thing he lost his hearing for a little bit, something like that.
Yeah.
What did they do to hearing? Do you know what they did to fix it?
What I heard is that he went for a second opinion, and his hearing is not as bad as they thought.
Okay.
They were telling him, listen, if you do one more show, you're done, you're deaf.
Okay.
And he says that his hearing loss was not based on music.
No.
It was from his race car driving.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
I don't know. But it's a long story, a 50-year story of AC/DC.
Oh my God! Not only that, they started off very different from what
Very
we,
different from what we know now.
Yeah. But they actually had a different front man that he had
Even
like
before,
a year,
even
right?
before Bon Scott. Now, the story of AC/DC is really about three brothers and a very bad winter.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Australia.
In,
I remember.
in England. In Scotland.
Scott, oh yeah, they worked for Scott.
Yeah.
They moved to.
You had three brothers, George
Yeah.
Young, Malcolm Young, and Angus Young.
Yeah.
And they were from the Glasgow area of Scotland. Now,
Yeah.
in 1963, the winter was considered the Big Freeze.
Yeah.
And it was the worst winter that was recorded in recent times. They had gotten something like 8 feet of snow.
Imagine that.
A lot of snow. Okay. Now, at the time, there was a commercial that was being run on television that talked about assisted travel for certain families to resettle in Australia.
Yeah.
So the Young family decided to move and uproot and go to Australia.
Australia.
Yeah. Now they would settle in the Burwood area, which is a suburb of Sydney.
Yep.
George Young, who was the oldest brother, met a fellow migrant. He was a Dutchman named Harry Vanda.
Yep.
Now, their interest in music would get George into playing guitar.
Yeah.
And eventually Harry would play lead guitar. And they would start the Easy Beats.
Yep.
Now, the Easy Beats was the biggest band in Australia in the 1960s. They carried over into the States. You know the song Friday on My Mind. That was the Easy Beats. That was George Young, Angus, and Malcolm's older brother.
Yep.
The Easy Beats with Vanda and Young, the songwriting team, would have a lot of success going all the way into the 1980s. And in fact, the song Love Is in the Air,
Love Is in the Air.
and Yesterday's Hero by the Bay City Rollers, they were all written by Harry and Vanda. By a guy named John Paul Young. He did Love Is in the Air, actually.
Love Is in the Air.
Yeah. Now, Malcolm began playing guitar in the late 60s as well. And he was in a Newcastle band. Guess what they were called?
Velvet
The
Underground.
Velvet Underground.
But not the New York
But
Velvet
not the New
Underground.
York's Velvet Underground.
That
okay?
was, whatever. But that's funny that
It was a
group-
coincidence.
Yeah.
And Angus began playing guitar shortly after that.
Yep.
He wanted to be in a band with Malcolm. He was very close with Malcolm. Now, they had a sister named Margaret Young.
Yeah.
And she was looking at her sewing machine one day, and she said, "You guys should call yourself AC/DC."
Yeah.
She was looking at the label.
The label, yeah,
Okay.
that's incredible. That's where they got
the
that
name,
from.
the name represented like kind of the raw energy of the band.
Yeah, the power.
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
I mean, some people mention the sexual connotation, but
Oh yeah.
that really wasn't the idea.
Didn't the AC/DC back in the day was almost like a gay terminology?
Well, even not so
Right.
much now, but
Not so much now, but I thought-
if you were calling somebody AC/DC, it meant they were bisexual.
Yeah, so that's what I think. That's what happened when it first came to the U.S. I think that's what people thought they were like, because it was very weird. I remember there's a little
Maybe.
controversy about
Maybe
that whole
that's
thing.
possible. It's possible.
You know.
So in November of 1973, you had Malcolm on guitar, Angus on guitar, playing lead. You had a bass player named Larry Von Crite.
Yep.
And they had a singer named Dave Evans.
Yep.
And a drummer named Colin Bergeson.
Yep.
Now, there was a guy named Gene Pearson who was a popular Australian and New Zealand singer. And he got them a gig at a club called Checkers, New Year's Eve 1973. Now, in the beginning, AC/DC had a very kind of glam image.
Yeah, very glam. Yeah,
they wore costumes.
Yeah.
Okay. Angus would sometimes wear a Spider-Man outfit. Sometimes he would wear a gorilla outfit. Okay, playing guitar like that. And at the time, he was 18 years old, so he was very young.
He was also Super Angus at one point.
Super Angus, right. Now, tensions were right off the bat between Dave Evans and their manager.
Yeah, they did not like each other.
No, their manager's name was Dennis Laughlin, and he was an ex-singer.
Yeah.
And sometimes during their shows, he would kind of push Evans off the stage and sing. Imagine your manager doing that. Yeah, I mean, like your manager, you know what I mean? That's fucked up, you know? So, you know, it would kind of lead to the replacement of Evans later on. But
but that lineup didn't last very long. They were probably together like a year, maybe.
A year,
and
yeah.
It was like, fuck that.
In mid-74, they were getting a reputation as a great live band. And they would open, one of their first big gigs is they would open for Lou Reed.
Oh, yeah.
On an early solo album by Lou Reed. Now, think about that. Malcolm was in a band called the Velvet Underground, and he's playing with Lou Reed, who was in the real Velvet Underground. They must have had a conversation.
Yeah.
They had to.
Hey, mate, you know, mate, I was the band, Velvet Underground. I invented the Velvet Underground.
I was in the Velvet Underground, too. I don't remember you.
I don't remember.
Now, later in 74, veteran Melbourne promoter named Michael Browning, he booked them kind of reluctantly at his club called the Hard Rock.
Is that relation to the Hard Rocks that we have now?
No. It was just a club called the Hard Rock. But he didn't like their glam image.
No.
That's why I say reluctantly, because he didn't like their image. He didn't like Dave Evans as their singer. He felt that he wasn't an appropriate singer for what they were doing. But he did like Angus and Malcolm's guitar.
Oh, yeah, because they were great guitarists.
Yeah, exactly. Now, after the gig, Laughlin, he basically, he became their manager. Okay, it was a strange kind of event. What happened was they got stranded after that gig in Melbourne.
Oh, yeah, but
because Laughlin took off
with the money and everything.
Okay, and Browning actually backed them up. He said, all right, I'll pay you, I'll get you out of here. I'm even going to get you another gig at my show. I'll become your manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not only that, didn't they wind up going to jail and this guy Brown bailed them out, pretty much bailed them out, booked them for another show at the Hard Rock?
Yeah. I mean, they were probably arrested as vagrants or something.
Imagine that you're AC/DC and your manager just take off.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing that Brown does? He gets rid of the lead singer.
Yep. He says, I'll come on, but you got to get rid of Dave Evans. Now, George Young, their older brother, and Harry Vanda agreed to kind of assist in the managing of the band.
Yeah.
Now, at that point, there would be a lot of changes. They would dump that glam rock image that they had all together for a more kind of like hard rock, blues-based kind of thing. They would also relocate to Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah.
Now, they had recorded one single at that point with Dave Evans.
Yeah.
The song "Can I Sit Next to You?"
Yeah.
Which would be re-recorded later on. In September of '74, they had to get a new singer, so they ended up with Bon Scott. Now, Bon Scott was a friend of George Young's, and he was actually chauffeuring the band.
Yeah, he was a fucking chauffeur.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, your chauffeur becomes your lead singer. Okay, this is the only kind of thing that can happen in Australia. Okay,
but that's almost like, remember Lemmy? He was like the roadie
for Hendrix.
Same thing, and then
exactly.
he got his own band.
Yeah. Now,
but this guy wasn't.
But Bon Scott had a lot in common with the Youngs. You know, he was also from Scotland.
Oh yeah.
And he relocated to Australia.
He migrated. Yeah.
He was older than them by almost 10 years. Okay, he was almost 10 years older than Angus.
Well, you know, if I think about it, you're kind of a driver, so you already got kind of a weird chemistry with them, and you already know what they're about. So I can see, but I wonder if these guys even realized he was a singer before they even hired.
George Young heard that he was.
That he was, all right.
And I think Bon wasn't looking for that at that point, but it was like, hey, you sing, and yeah, I do. You know, why don't you try out? You know, and that's how it happened. But they would record their first studio album called High Voltage in October of '74. It was recorded in 10 days.
Yeah.
All right. And it was at Albert Studios in Sydney. It was released in February of '75 on Albert Productions. That was the label they were on. Now, Bon Scott, the other guys wrote all the music, but he wrote all the lyrics. They had gotten a new bassist at that point named Mark Evans, no relation. Okay, and they had gotten drummer Phil Rudd at that point.
Yeah, Phil Rudd. You want to hear something interesting about that? The first two albums only were out in Australia. They weren't even like they never came here. They were out in Australia, which was weird.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
I find that fact. I didn't even realize that because for some reason I seen the album TNT.
Nobody knew who AC/DC was in America really until Highway to Hell.
Yeah, oh my God.
Let's go into 1979. But I'll tell you more about that when we get closer to it.
Yeah.
Now, they had released a single with Bon Scott at that point called It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll.
It's a great song.
I mean, that's a fantastic song. I think it's the first song to ever have, rock song to ever have bagpipes in it.
Yeah.
Okay? And I heard that it was George Young's idea to do that, and Bon played the bagpipes. He knew how to play, so he could do it.
I thought that was great. The sound, it was like a different sound.
Nobody ever thought of putting bagpipes in a rock song before 1975. You know, now, and AC/DC was supposed to play the Sunbury Music Festival in Australia in 1975, but they went to the show, and the headliners, Deep Purple, were the ones, headlining. Wow. They ended up having like an altercation with them and their managers, and they never played the fucking show. But they had a fist fight with Deep Purple.
Yeah, that's what happened. Imagine that. Say you're gonna open up for Deep Purple, and you fucking wind up beating up Deep Purple.
End up beating up Deep Purple.
And the problem is, they probably would have opened up for Deep Purple. And they probably would have stole their energy. People would have probably wanted to hear
at that point, nobody wanted to
hear
hear Deep Purple in 75.
Yeah, fucking Deep Purple.
Yeah, please. Now, between 74 and 77, they had regular appearances on Countdown, which was a TV show in Australia. It was a live music show. And it got them a lot of popularity. Manager Michael Browning began sending, at that point, promo material to contacts he had in London. Now in '76, he got a bite.
But they also had another album in '77.
TNT. Right.
I mean '75. Actually, in Australia
right.
Came out.
They released. Yeah, they did release TNT, and what was the name of the first one?
High Voltage.
High Voltage. Excuse me.
Which is like 2 albums.
Which is really like 2 albums. When they would be released later on in America, they were 1 album.
Yeah.
Okay, and they took mostly from TNT.
Yeah.
But in '76 they signed to Atlantic Records.
The original copy of the album, or can you get them now? Like the original?
Yeah, very rare.
Oh, but you could get them, right? Not even like on CD.
I remember when Highway to Hell came out as a kid. I loved the song. And I was like, all right, who's this AC/DC? And I remember going to the record store, seeing Highway to Hell, and they had the import section with the other albums.
Okay.
But it was rare. It was expensive. It was hard to get. if you have them now, those Australian imports, it's got to be worth something.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, they got signed to Atlantic. They had to go to London and get signed up. And they would end up on a tour when they signed up with Free, the band Free, member Paul Kossoff's new band called Backstreet Crawlers.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. Now the weird thing is that when they got there to sign, Paul Kossoff died. Excuse me. He was on a flight from I think L.A. to New York or New York to L.A. I think it was L.A. to New York, and he had a blood clot in his leg that spread to his lung, and it exploded and it killed him on the plane.
Yeah.
You know. So they ended up doing some kind of like smaller shows while they were in England, you know, to kind of push themselves.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of crazy.
It was crazy. I mean, Paul Kossoff was a big deal at that point.
Because they were going to do all this big thing, and then out of nowhere, now they couldn't do the big thing, and they had to wait to get re-signed again, I guess.
No, they got signed, but they had nowhere to like play.
All right.
And they ended up doing like smaller gigs in smaller places.
Okay.
There was Atlantic Records put together something called the Lock Up the Daughters Tour.
Yeah. What a name.
Yeah, that's right. And it was sponsored by Sounds Magazine.
Yes.
Now, what was happening in 76, 77 at that point in England?
It was the punk
Scene.
But
Okay.
you know what some people called AC/DC punk
They
rock?
weren't.
not punk rock.
No.
And they actually hated it.
They got lumped in with that a few times.
They hated
They
it.
hated it.
They hated it.
Okay. But the thing is that they didn't identify with the punk bands at all. They felt punk was like a flash in the pan. It wasn't going anywhere. But they, you know, in the looking back at it now, 40 years later, they actually had a lot in common with those bands.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, and some of them they did get along with. Okay, but they didn't want to be called a punk band. That was the last thing they wanted to be called.
But they weren't punk band. They were definitely like a rock band.
They were a rock band by every definition of the word.
Yeah.
But you know, because of their, you know, the songs were kind of simple. You know, they didn't fit in exactly with what was going on in the rock scene at that point. Now, Sounds Magazine was a sponsor on that tour, and Sounds was about the only magazine that would even talk about any kind of classic rock bands at that point. Everything was about punk.
Punk, yeah. Because it was the punk revolution, man. You know,
that's what was going on, yeah. Now, sometimes, like I said, the music press would put them in with that, but they hated it.
Yeah, they hated it. They couldn't even, like, if you remember, they wouldn't even talk to you.
No, they would, like, if you call us a punk band, we're walking out.
Yeah.
You know? And Angus, at that point, he would, you know, gain his notoriety on stage for mooning.
Yeah, he was just mooning.
And he still does that every show. Every AC/DC show, Angus will take his pants off and moon the audience.
For no reason at all.
No reason at all. It's great. It's fantastic.
Let me just turn around here, you bitches. Go fuck
and you remember, he was wearing the schoolboy outfit at that point.
Outfit.
You know, he still does that. He just yank the shorts off, and there you go.
I think it's funny, man.
It's hilarious.
It's very funny.
I mean, I've seen them in Madison Square Garden a couple times.
I saw them in Madison Square Garden. Like in one of the tours, and I never forget. I'm outside Madison Square Garden. My dad gave me something like, I think $25. I bought like a fucking AC/DC T-shirt from some black dude that was saying probably a bootleg.
Or something, yeah.
It was a bootleg in the back. No, it was
crooked.
It was probably. You know what? It was probably like $10. I got him down to $5.
Yeah.
And then I went to the show for $20.
Yeah.
It was fucking
Can't beat that.
fantastic, and it was like a good 2.5 hour show.
One thing about DC I always
Holy
loved
shit.
is they never went crazy with the prices.
No.
They never, at least when I've seen them. I don't know Now I haven't seen them in about 20 years, so I don't know. But they never did that. You know?
No, but you know what? You gotta look at it. In '84, $20 for a ticket price is still like a hefty. It was $20.
Yeah, $20 was a lot.
Not many things cost $20.
But they, you're talking a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
They always play it. Now,
I must have been like 12 years old or something. And there were like all these fucking lunatics.
Yeah, amazing. Now, in April '76, Atlantic Records released tracks from the first 2 studio Australian albums. It was called High Voltage and TNT. Now, it was under one title. They used the title High Voltage, and it was the critics killed it. Killed it.
Yeah.
They called it fucking retarded. Okay. I love retard rock. So there you go. Okay. Now, it was panned by Rolling Stone's main critic named Billy Altman. He said rock and roll has hit an all-time low. Okay, in the hard rock genre. These people would change their minds.
Why do you think that? I thought those albums was pretty good. Those albums, they had some song.
I think they just the simplicity of it.
That's what it was. It was too simple.
It was too simple. That you had this like kind of punk rock thing going on the side, and they were like kind of just different. They didn't do like giant 20-minute long solos like everybody was interested in.
Yeah.
So people were like, they're nothing. What I mean? They're nothing. I mean, how many AC/DC songs end up with like, duh, at the end? It's just bomb. It's just fucking the song.
It's fucking great.
I love that. You know what I mean?
Oh, AC/DC, man?
Yeah, man.
Oh, in concert?
Yeah.
I don't know how long it was. It might have been 20 minutes, but it was like 110 with
It's okay.
For those who bound to rock.
Yeah, we salute you.
Oh,
that was great.
Exactly.
Angus running all
That
over
was
the
great.
stage.
Yeah.
Oh,
The little
fuck.
guy
That
mooning
was a song
people.
that was totally made only to do a concert.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that was...
Those guys were
punk,
great.
man. That was metal.
Those songs.
But nowadays they started considering more hard rock than metal. Because back in the early 80s, when the first few episodes metal, they called AC/DC was considered metal.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about this podcast here.
Yeah, we're doing a podcast. We talk about AC/DC right now.
AC/DC?
Yeah.
Oh, Angus is fucking, I don't know, man. The guy's like 65 and he's still dressed up like a schoolboy. What the fuck?
That's where you can't let it go.
Honestly.
Think about these songs on the first
as
album.
big as the singer is, whatever his fucking name is, Bon
Yeah.
Scott's coming to my mind, but he's gonna die like a long time ago.
The first album, you got It's a Long Way to the Top if you want to rock and
We're
roll.
actually doing a podcast right
You
now.
got Rock and Roll Singer. You got The Jack. You got Live Wire. You got TNT.
Yeah.
Can I Sit Next to You, Girl? Right? You mind if I lick your ear?
Yeah.
Can I Sit Next to You, Girl? Okay. Little Lover. She's Got Balls. High Voltage. Okay. Most of these tracks they used was from TNT, the Australian album. Now, at that point, they would come out with another album called Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap in 1976.
Yeah. That was a great fucking song.
It was. I mean, the whole album is great.
Yeah.
It was released only in Australia, and not in America, unfortunately, until 1981. Now, I got to tell you a little personal story. When Highway to Hell came out, and it was huge. That was the first album really released in the United States.
Oh yeah, that was technically the first album.
Yeah. And because it was so popular everywhere else, it kind of took over.
I think the one with the purple thing is trying to find a
Now, I remember being in a record store, looking at Highway to Hell, and being like, should I buy this album? Or should I spend a few dollars more and get Dirty Deeds?
Yeah.
Because they had, in the import section right next to it, they had and it was a different album cover. If you remember when Dirty Deeds got released in '81, they had the blindfolds on their faces.
Yeah.
Okay, it was like in front of like a cheesy ass hotel. But the album cover then was like, I think it was Bon Scott's, big Popeye arm like this, with like tattoos on it. And I bought it. I still have it.
You still got it?
I still got it. Yeah, it was a lot of money. for me, you know, as a
How
kid.
much was it? Like 20, 30 bucks maybe?
Not that much. I think it was close to 20.
Wow.
I think it was close to 20.
That still was a lot to pay for an album.
It was.
What were like the more like most of your album was probably like $11, like you know.
$11, $12. Yeah,
$11, $12.
imports were more. You know, but you were hearing, like, you were getting this buzz, like, wow, you know, there's this band, and they're kind of like from Australia, you know.
Yeah.
And you were like, fuck, Australia? What the fuck is that place? You know what I mean? I mean, it was, in those days, it was different, you know.
Yeah.
Now, what would happen with these albums, first few albums, is that there would be varied kind of album covers and varied kind of tracks. That not everything would be the same. You know, if it was in Australia, it didn't have the same tracks as in Germany.
Yeah.
You know? And so it was kind of complicated with AC/DC at that point. But they did a tour in '76 in Sweden and the UK. And it set record attendance
Yeah.
for the Marquee in London and other places. And they were really starting to pick up.
Yeah.
Now, in late '76, they recorded their 4th studio album, which is probably one of their best, called Let There Be Rock.
Yep.
All right. You had tracks like the title track,
Yep.
Dog Eat Dog, Whole Lot of Rosie,
Yep.
which is about a full-figured, big-ass
Yeah,
girl.
yep.
Okay. Now, in early '77, they ended up on tour with Black Sabbath
Yes.
for a little while.
Imagine that tour.
Yeah.
Just seeing those two, like they're like high energy, high power fucking bands, and they just like,
Yeah.
we're gonna go out there, we're gonna give you this raw fucking energy and fucking rock your fucking world, you know?
Yeah. I mean, at that point, Sabbath was like starting to suck.
Yeah.
I would think AC/DC probably fucking kicked their ass.
I can see that.
Okay. They also opened for Rainbow that year too. Now, bass player Mark Evans.
It's a good
Yeah.
question. Why were they so accepted so quickly, but the critics didn't accept them? It took the critics a few years.
Not until Back in Black.
Yeah, that really took them in, but they didn't take them in for a
You
while.
know,
Like,
It's interesting. If you think about it, I think AC/DC, in the minds of critics back then,
yeah,
fell into the genre of bands like Slade, Sweet, punk bands, the Ramones, stuff like that. They kind of fell in that category of like, these guys are not that fucking talented. And, but they were, and they are. Yeah, I mean, it's like,
and they were singing longer songs also. They weren't singing like 1 minute, 2 minute songs. They were doing like a good 3, 4, 5 minute.
no,
songs,
AC/DC were a good 3-4 minute songs. They weren't like punk songs that were 2 minutes. But I think there was this kind of like idea that maybe because they were from Australia, they weren't taking it seriously.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. But
maybe that's what it was. Australia. Who the fuck are these assholes?
Yeah. I mean, did we know anything about Australia before Crocodile Dundee?
No.
We didn't know fucking shit. That was filmed in his bar, by the way.
How about Men at Work?
That was about it.
Men at Work was from Australia. We come
But that
from
was like
Men at Work.
that was '82.
Yeah, it was 82.
Yeah.
So we didn't.
Yeah.
No wonder they accepted
Nobody
that.
knew, what the fuck Australia was
What the
back
fuck
in.
a kangaroo
All
was.
all you knew was kangaroos. That was
And
it.
the boomerang.
Boomer. Now, the bass player Mark Evans at that point during the Let There Be Rock would be fired and replaced by Cliff Williams, who would be with them for a long time.
Yeah.
Now, AC/DC American radio exposure at that point was very slow, okay, to start. Now, there was a guy named Bill Bartlett out of Jacksonville, Florida, who actually was playing AC/DC early on, but they basically wouldn't get much traction in America until they did a show in Austin, Texas, and they opened for a Canadian group named Moxie. There was a live show of that was played a lot in the United States. In '77, they opened for Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
They opened for Aerosmith.
Yep.
They opened for Kiss. They opened for Styx, UFO, Blue Oyster Cult, and they would share a bill several times with Cheap Trick. Okay? So So they were starting to get big. Now, August of 77, you know where they would play?
Where?
CBGB's.
CBD. Imagine that.
Imagine AC/DC at CBGB's.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It was a last minute thing. They were doing some recording in New York City, and they ended up on a bill with the Dead Boys and the Talking Heads. How fucking weird is that?
When you think of that, like, those groups get over each other. You know, it's like a very mixed gender.
I don't know if she's watching, but I'm going to tell her story. There's a girl named Deborah Farina that I've been friends with on Facebook for years and years.
Yeah.
And she always brought up a story out, and she's a big like rock fan.
Yeah.
She hated punk, okay, but she was a rock fan, and she went to that show.
Yeah.
At CBGB's, and there was some punk rock people that gave her shit, and she punched him in the face.
Oh my God.
some punk guy she punched right in the nose during the AC.
God.
But hey, listen, I mean, just to see Bon Scott on that stage at ACD's had to be freaking incredible.
Yeah. But think about where you were, like, CBG was not a big place, you know?
No.
So to see that, like, band that you see a match, it's like anytime you see somebody at CBG, they you saw a match with Greg Hardy, you're like, you fucking made it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if you played CB's and you went to MSG,
Yeah.
you made it.
You made it, because that's it. That could tell you what kind of impact these motherfuckers had there.
Yeah. Now, May 5th, 1978, they would release their 5th studio album called Powerage.
Which is another good album,
yeah,
too.
it's one of my favorites. Now, you had tracks on there called Rock and Roll Damnation, Riff Raff, Kicked in the Teeth.
Yep.
All right. And the Powerage tour was recorded as a live album called If You Want Blood, You Got It, which is one of my all-time favorite album covers because it's got a guitar through the stomach of Angus.
Yeah.
With blood hanging out.
It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the guitar is through his guts.
It's fucking,
Yeah.
it's got stabbed.
Yeah. And that was released in November 78.
You know what was interesting about these guys? They were, how many brothers like that were actually musicians playing that really got along? There's more story about brothers that didn't get along than the brothers that got along, you know what I'm saying? And these guys were like great musicians. They're like, really were like,
you know, George, they had this camaraderie with their brothers, George, Malcolm, Angus.
Yeah.
You know, George did a lot of the production on all these early albums, and they were close.
Yeah.
They were close. It's a good thing. You know?
Let me ask you a question. Who you think was like the leader of the band?
Oh.
Was it the young guys that were running it, or was it their brother? Who was really running like behind the scenes?
I believe it to be Malcolm.
Malcolm, okay.
Yeah. Malcolm was very important in the band. He wrote a lot of the music.
Okay.
Angus did too.
Angus
did too. But he was younger than Malcolm.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so you kind of have that dichotomy right there.
Okay.
Now, in July of 79, they would come out with their 6th studio album called Highway to Hell.
Yeah, that's a great album too.
They got away from the George Young production at that point.
Yeah.
And there was a guy named Mutt Lang. It reached number 17 in the U.S. charts.
Yeah.
All right, this was the album that broke it for them. I remember hearing this being like, holy shit, this is fucking good.
It was really good. That album was like game changer.
And you know, I didn't know much about them at that point. I used to read Cream magazine, Rock Scene, and AC/DC would be in there. I didn't know much about their music. You couldn't find it. It was import only.
Wow, Cream magazine. Jesus Christ, that shit's not around anymore. Is Rolling Stone still around? Is that still a thing? It is?
Yeah.
I don't go to the news. I don't even see it anymore.
Nobody does. But like I said, it would get to number 17 in the U.S. charts. It would have to be released in the United States. It was such a big hit. The title track, Highway to Hell, you had other songs, Girls Got Rhythm, Touch Too Much, Shot Down in Flames. It broke it open, basically, for them at that point. But it would kind of be a bittersweet thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Because in January 1980, they began working on their 7th album called Back in Black.
Yeah.
Now, we're coming on. We just passed the 40th anniversary. The death of Bon Scott.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, February 19th, 1980, Bon Scott was with a friend of his named Alistair Kinnear.
Yeah.
Okay. And they were partying, drinking, drugs, whatever was involved. And Bon passed out on the way home, back to Kinnear's place.
Yeah.
I think they were driving a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
Okay. And Kinnear couldn't move him.
He actually left him.
He left him sleeping in the car. Now he couldn't move him. He was too heavy. So the evening of February 20th, Kinnear rushed Bon Scott to the hospital because he was barely alive.
Yeah.
Okay. And it turned out he was declared dead. He choked on his own vomit. Now I had heard other things too, that he had basically frozen to death because he had so much alcohol in his system. I don't know if that's true.
I also heard that might have been just a heroin use too, and they were doing drugs.
Well,
and
that's
stuff.
that's another thing. I mean, did Bon Scott? This would be good for the conspiracy show.
Yeah.
Okay. Did Bon Scott do heroin? According to a book that was written by Jesse Fink in 2017 called Bon the Lost Highway, he did. He did that.
Right. Yeah.
And he may have died from a heroin overdose. They called it basically an alcohol poisoning. They called it death, but I don't know if they ever really looked into it more than that.
Yeah, I think what happened was they were pretty much what they say, that he died that he drowned in his own vomit, which is alcohol. But pretty much he choked to death.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
If he was a heroin abuser, maybe he wouldn't have been sick from it because he would have been used to it.
Yeah.
But the alcohol might have made him want to throw up.
Yeah.
And if the heroin was hitting him, he wouldn't have been able to get it out of him, and he would have choked up on it. That would be the end of Bon Scott. Okay. Now the band was so distraught they were going to break up at that point.
Yeah.
All right. But Bon Scott's parents actually spoke to the young brothers and
Told
said,
them to keep the band.
keep the band going. This is what Bon would have wanted.
Yeah.
And I kind of believe that. I think that Bon probably would have wanted that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Now they had to audition a lot of singers. One guy that they were looking at, believe it or not, was Noddy Holder, the singer of Slade.
I saw that.
Yeah. He would have been. I think he would have been a good addition to that band. Yeah. But Slade was about to make a comeback at that point, so who knows? Now they ended up settling on ex-Geordie singer named Brian Johnson.
And you want to hear something? Him and I think Dan Scott were in a group together.
Bon Scott, they weren't in a group, but they knew each other. Okay. He impressed them because when he went to audition, he came out with a whole lot of Rosie.
Yeah.
Okay. And he did Nutbush City Limits from Ike and Tina Turner. Okay, so that was definitely cool to kind of do.
Imagine that's your fucking
Audition song. Yeah. Now, Bon Scott actually knew Brian Johnson.
Because he told him
he had told the band maybe a year or two earlier that he had caught Johnson's band called Geordie in England, and his vocals was similar to Little Richard.
Yeah.
And Little Richard was Bon Scott's all-time idol.
Yeah.
And he impressed him. So, Brian Johnson happened to just, appear on the scene after the death of Bon Scott.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh yeah, you're the guy that Bon told us about.
Yeah.
Now, April 1st, 1980, Brian Johnson would be officially announced as the new singer of AC/DC.
And you want to hear how many bands survived 2 lead singers? And this guy sounded just great.
Yeah.
Brian Scott was almost like Bon Scott. He fitted in there.
Some people say that. I kind of feel that he doesn't sound like Bon Scott because they wanted to have a singer that was different.
Yeah.
They didn't want to have a guy that was going to just sound like Bon Scott and continue.
Oh no, but he got that similar, like that high power
Kind of.
energy. Like
Kind
they
of.
still the energy. They didn't lose any energy. They were still like, holy shit, man, it's fucking AC/DC, you know?
It was just a little different. There was a little twist on it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the idea. I think that they really didn't want a Bon Scott clone. They weren't going to find anybody like him.
They just wanted a guy that could fit in with the group.
Right.
Here's a big question that I want to ask you. Did he get to finish the Back in Black album?
They had started recording and writing Back in Black when Bon was alive.
Yes.
Okay, but by the time it came to recording, they were down in the Bahamas. They did some recording in New York City.
Okay.
Yeah. And, songs like Hell's Bells, You Shook Me All Night Long, Back in Black, Rock and Roll and Noise Pollution, okay? It ended up being their best-selling album, okay? That was all written after Bon died. Some people think there's a Bon Scott album with Back in Black. It doesn't exist. Okay? So they ended up selling 50 million copies with Back in Black.
And this was all sang by Brian Johnson. Right? Wow.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny? If you heard Highway to Hell, then you heard Back in Black. You know what? It was the same fucking intensity, the same energy. Even though he didn't sound it, but it was loud.
I gotta tell you a funny story.
Strong,
When I was listening to Highway to Hell, I had it on cassette. Okay. And I remember sitting in a park with a Panasonic cassette, player, listening to that, and I was with this girl. I must have been 12 years old, and she says to me, "Turn this off and play some AC/DC." Because she didn't know anything before Back in Black.
Back in Black.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty funny, man.
Yeah. Now, Back in Black, what can I say? Okay, it got to number 4 in the United States, number 1 in the UK.
Was that the highest ranking they ever got in the US?
Yes. They would spend 131 weeks in the Billboard Top 200.
And that's fucking good.
All right. I mean, it was one of the biggest rock albums of all time.
Yeah. 50 million copies.
Yeah. Now, in November of '81, they would come out with For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. That got to number 13 with that title track with the cannons and everything. In '83, they would kind of come out with something different.
Yeah.
It was the self-produced album called Flick of the Switch. And you had tracks like Nervous Breakdown, Flick of the Switch. It was considered not a good album.
I didn't think that was a good album at all.
You know what? I like the title track, but...
Oh, that's it. But it was like...
It got to number 4, though, in the UK.
Which is funny.
Yeah. Now, Phil Rudd, the drummer, and Malcolm would actually have a physical fight during the recording of this album.
Wow.
All right. Now, there was a lot of drug and alcohol problems going on, and it ended up with Phil Rudd being fired. Now, they ended up getting former Procol Harum drummer B.J. Wilson to finish the album.
Yeah.
All right.
Dude, why did they have they had like little trouble. They had certain band members that after a while they just couldn't deal with them no more. And they just got rid of them, you know that?
Phil Rudd would come back several times.
Yeah. But they had guys, and understand, they would have guys that they get rid of, and then the guys wind up coming back. A few years later, it's like...
Because they were good. They knew they had to have them back. Simon Wright would replace Phil Rudd officially after something like 700 auditions that they did. And they would come out with their 10th studio album called Fly on the Wall. It was produced by Angus and Malcolm and released in 1985. There was a song called Danger, Sink the Pink, Shake Your Foundations, June of '85. I actually like this album.
This album was not a bad album.
It's not bad. Shake Your Foundations and Sink the Pink. I remember going to see the Ramones at the Ritz one time, and Joey Ramone was wearing a Fly on the Wall fucking album shirt, okay, with the purple fucking fly on it and everything, you know.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. Now, they would come out with like a long form music video at that point, that had 5 songs on it. They were starting to get MTV radio airplay.
I remember them on MTV every time.
In '86, Stephen King would throw in with them, and they came out with "Who Made Who" for the soundtrack of Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, that was great. That was a
great movie. Stephen King flick. The trucks taking over.
Trucks taking over. It was fantastic.
Now, do you remember what Stephen King said his 2 favorite bands were?
Ramones and
AC/DC. Yep, you know that.
Yep.
In January of '88, they would come out with "Blow Up Your Video." And that would be a song on there called Heat Seeker.
Yeah, Heat Seeker.
And that would be that's the one where Angus is riding the missile.
Yeah.
You remember that video? Okay. It was produced by George Young and Harry Vanda. It got to number 2 in the UK and number 12 in the United States. I saw them. That was the first time I got to see them on that tour. Yep. Now, Malcolm was not on the U.S. leg of that tour.
Yeah.
Okay, he had developed a bad alcohol problem.
Yeah.
Okay, and they ended up with his his nephew Stevie.
Yeah.
Young. Okay, now after Europe, he did take that leave with England. With United States, he did not play. But Sam Wright left the group on drums at that point to join up with Dio.
Yeah.
So they didn't have a drummer anymore.
They changed the lineup again.
You
know what's funny? Like, if you think about it now, Steve Young is the one right now playing with the group where
Malcolm passed away.
Yeah. But I mean, think about that. They replaced him then, so he's already becoming part of the AC/DC legacy. You know,
he's Malcolm's nephew.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. September of 1990, they would come out with the Razor's Edge album.
I thought that was a good album.
I thought it was a great album. They were 11th studio album. It was a big comeback for them.
Yep.
They would come out with Thunderstruck, Money Talks. They sold 5 million copies and it went to number 2 in the United States. They had Chris Slade on drums, right? Because Phil Rudd had left.
Yeah.
And it was produced by Bruce Fairbairn. And they would come out with a live album in '92 from that tour, just called Live.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic fucking live record.
It's a great album.
Yeah. Now I saw them on that tour as well.
I didn't see that. I wish I did.
At Madison Square Garden. Now in January of 1991, they played a show in Salt Lake City where 3 fans were crushed to death. And basically they were rushing the stage. And AC/DC got sued.
I know, for a few $1 million.
And they settled with the family out of court, with their families. Now, Phil Rudd would replace Chris Slade again in 1995 when they came out with the September release of Ballbreaker. Right? There was an album called Ballbreaker in '95 that they would put out with a song called Hard as a Rock. That was the single.
I remember that.
Good song.
Very good song.
Yeah, very good song.
You know what, Robbie? They're also one of the few bands that a lot of their songs, the title of the album was a song.
Yeah.
Because a lot of musicians used to do that. They don't do that as much as they used to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's true.
You will have a song, this is a song, and then there'll be a song about it. Now it's very different. Like, they'll have a title, but it's not even one of the songs.
Nothing to do with
the song.
Yeah. In 1997, there would be a Bonfire box set released.
Yes.
All right. Now it was 4 CDs, and they were, remembering Bon Scott. They did some outtakes from Back in Black. They had a remix of Back in Black.
Yep.
And there were like 2 live albums thrown in there with "Let There Be Rock" the movie, a DVD, and it was, that was recorded from December 7th, 1979. At the Pavilion de Paris. In 2000, they came out with the 14th studio album called Stiff Upper Lip. It was produced again by George Young. It got to number 7 in the U.S. The title track was a great fucking song.
Yeah.
All right, and they actually ended up on Saturday Night Live in March of 2000.
I remember seeing
they
that.
They Satellite Blues.
Yeah.
And Safe in New York City.
Safe,
I saw them on that tour twice.
That was a good. That was a good sign.
The beginning of the tour, the beginning of the tour, they ended up at Madison Square Garden. At the end of the tour, they ended up at Madison Square Garden.
That's a fantastic tour.
Yeah. 2003. Well, what happened? They were getting to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And in July of 2003, they played with the Stones and Rush at Molson Canadian Rocks for Toronto. I'm not gonna say
Nobody went there for Rush.
I'm not gonna say Rush. Okay. Now, it was a charity for the SARS epidemic that was going on in Toronto.
Yeah.
It was getting a bad name, so these bands got together to help Toronto and Rush. So, 2007, I'm not even going to say nothing. 2007, there was a DVD set called Plug Me In. And in 2008, there was a set called The Family Jewels.
Family Jewels, yeah.
DVD rarities on both of those.
Right there.
August of 2008, Columbia Records would release, because they got off of Atlantic. Columbia Records would release their 15th album called Black Ice.
Black Ice.
15 tracks sold exclusively at fucking Walmart.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't like this.
No.
I went like,
this is
okay.
terrible.
But you know what? It's not a bad album.
No,
Heard
it's
it.
not a bad album.
Yeah. They had a song called Rock and Roll Train, and actually being released by Walmart, it ended up at #1.
Yeah. Because you know every fucking hillbilly right there.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. I got
Fat
it.
fucking chick with the plumber's crack going down fucking Walmart aisles, you know?
Most of the fans that bought it were Rush fans.
I'm trying to be nice here. Rush just lost a member. All right, so I'm trying to be nice.
Fuck him.
I have nothing with Dan Scott's a Rush fan. I got a lot of fucking
Dan
friends that are
Scott's
Rush
out of his mind. He got locked up last week. He hang out
did.
with the big boy. He was up
did.
top.
He
He
got
was
locked
hanging
up.
out with the
Yeah,
mayor
it's
and
true.
fucking RockerMike. He was so
Loved
loved up.
up.
I think he missed his
Loved up.
train stop.
He did. He slept all the way to Babylon and had to make his way back to Amityville. Loved up. All right? Sorry for outing you, man. I love you, but okay.
We'll do an episode on Rush where we do the shittiest rock and roll band. I mean the greatest.
Now, like I said, the album would debut at #1. It would go multi-platinum, and they would go on an 18-month world tour.
They did a lot of tours. They were
They
going
did.
long tours. Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
holy shit, man.
Now, in September 2008, they got their own channel on Sirius.
Yeah.
And in October of 2008, the support of the Black Ice tour, they ended up, I remember this, they were releasing the album, and they would come out with these trucks, and they were blasting AC/DC all over the city.
I think I remember that.
They did it in New York
Yeah.
and LA.
Yeah.
Okay? And the Virgin Record store in Times Square had, all the albums.
That was that record store was phenomenal.
It was great.
I used to love going there. You know, the problem was it always was packed. It was just people listening to the whole album, and but you could pretty much go in there, put headphones, and listen to the whole album.
you could listen to it,
It was
right.
crazy.
Now, the Black Ice tour, they ended up performing in front of over 5 million people over 20 months. It came to an end June 28, 2010 in Spain, and they released a couple live DVDs, and they finally released AC/DC movie Let There Be Rock that was recorded in 1980 as an actual DVD that you can get. It's a great movie. Everybody should see it. Bon Scott, there you go. 2011, 2012. There were rumors of a new album, all right? But Malcolm said it's going to take some time. And because Brian's too slow. Brian Johnson's too slow in recording shit. All right. Now, in November 2012, they came out with the Live at River Plate album. And it was their first album that was live in 20 years. It did very well. 2014, you started hearing about Malcolm's bad health. Okay? You were hearing things that he had Alzheimer's, dementia, something like that. By July of 2014, it was announced that Stevie Young, Malcolm's nephew, would replace Malcolm. Okay? and he was recording on a new album that they were putting out. But September 2014, it was officially released that Malcolm was out of the band.
Yeah, he was out of the band.
It's a sad day. I always liked Malcolm. I respected his input in ACDC.
Well, he couldn't go on. He was pretty much.
He was shot. He was shot. Now, November 28th, 2014, they came out with an album called Rock or Bust. And it was the first one without Malcolm.
Yeah.
All right. They did a world tour. There was a song called Play Ball.
Yeah.
Was that for baseball? Like one of the, didn't the World Series play in or something like that?
But you know what? I hate to say this. I really didn't care for the album.
No, I didn't either. I didn't either. I was kind of tuning out.
Between me, I thought it sucked. That's just me being real. I just didn't even.
No, I get it. I mean, you know, they didn't put a lot into it.
And I think the band was still recovering from fucking Malcolm fucking passed away and all
Well,
this
he
shit.
wasn't dead at that point,
but he was
out of
already
it.
sick.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were recovering. They were probably depressed and all fucked up. And
But what was interesting, it was 11 tracks, and it was only 35 minutes.
yeah,
That's like a Ramones album.
yeah, it's like
Okay, it was short. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, November 6th, Phil Rudd of that year, 2014, would be charged with attempting to procure a murder and threatening to kill somebody, and he had possessions of methamphetamine, speed, okay, and marijuana. Right, so he was fucking up.
He was definitely fucking
Now,
up.
the murder charge would eventually be dropped, but the rest of the charges would remain, and he would be placed under house arrest. Could not do a tour.
No.
So Chris Slade rejoined the band. In April 2015, Rudd pleaded guilty to the drug charges and basically, accepted 8 months of house arrest. Now, Chris Slade went on the world tour for Rock and Bust at that point. In March of 2016, the tour was cut short. And that was because Brian Johnson had severe hearing loss. And, until they announced what it was, we didn't know what it was, but it basically, he went to somebody and they said, listen, if you play another show, you're fucking deaf.
You're fucked. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, he says he didn't have his hearing loss based on that. He said he had his hearing loss based on the fact that he was a fucking race car driver.
Race car driver.
Yeah. He had a hobby with race car driving, and it was the sound of the motors.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, pretty much the current members right now is Angus Young,
Yeah.
Chris Slade, Stevie Young, and Axl Rose as the lead singer.
Well,
but
what would happen
this
is...
guy's coming back.
Yeah, he's coming back because in February 2016, in Kansas City Sprint Center, Brian Johnson would do his last show. But Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses would kind of like take on the vocals for the remainder of the tour. I've known people that have seen that and said it sucked. Okay, except for like one or two songs that Axl did, like "Shoot for Thrills" was a song that Axl did really good. But I can't see Axl doing that.
I just can't see him.
That voice, I can't see it working for AC/DC. But in July of 2016, Cliff Williams would also announce that he was leaving the band, the bass player. And since 2019, there's rumors of a new album. Phil Rudd and Cliff Williams are also rumored to come back.
Wow.
Okay? But we don't know. I heard that something's coming up this year. That's where we are right now with AC/DC. It's a big question mark, people.
Wow, that's amazing, Mike. That was a lot of fucking information, man. We did a lot of
Now I have to mention, what's my favorite album from AC/DC?
Which one is? What is your favorite album?
Anything that Bon Scott did. Okay, Let There Be Rock, probably. Okay.
I love Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell is
To
classic.
me, it's one of my favorite albums.
Now, my favorite Brian Johnson albums, obviously Back in Black.
Yeah.
Okay. But I also like Fly on the Wall, and a lot of people don't like that album, but I like it. There's something about that album. I don't know. I just like the songs on there. And Razor's Edge with Thunderstruck.
Yeah, I love Razor's Edge.
And Stiff Upper Lip. I like that album.
Yeah.
Safe in New York City. It's a great fucking song.
It is a good song.
And I hope that they can come back this year, supposedly.
Yeah.
And with Brian Johnson, hopefully his hearing is okay. That's all I can say.
If they play the Garden, I'll get my Budweiser connection. See, also I know I might be able to get us to those April gig. You wanted to see somebody in Webster Hall? I'm going to talk to my guys.
Lunatics.
Yeah, Lunatics.
Yeah, the Lunatics are playing soon at Webster Hall.
Yeah, in April. I'm going to talk to my boys that work there, see if we can get us in. All right?
We got it.
So, buddy, remember, don't get drunk.
Get loved up.
Have a good one.
ACDC forever.
Yes, sir.